Hello, and welcome to the Tech Role Models interview. I'm joined today by Vandana Khanna, who is the Director of Digital Finance Transformation for Unilever. Vandana is slightly different to our normal audience, as she is based in the United States. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, Vandana, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Kevin, for having me here. So my name is Vandana Khanna, and I am in New Jersey on the East Coast in US, and I work for Unilever. It's been 2 years since I've been with Unilever. I lead digital transformation, and probably you will ask what exactly that is. So digital transformation is all about improving or leading change in the field of digital technologies. So whether you are working with RPA or AI, ML, or any kind of visualization to improve your processes, that's where digital transformation come into picture. If you're talking about ERPs, then that also falls under digital transformation. And the big piece of transformation is change management. So that's where I lead the space in the finance organization at Unilever. Prior to coming to Unilever, I worked for Verizon for a couple of years. Before that, I was with Toys R Us, and then prior to that, I was with Pepsi, and then J&J before that. So I'm an engineer, undergrad in engineering in India, and then I came here for MBA in finance and IT, and stayed here since. So it's been 2 decades in US now, and yeah, this is my home.
Yeah, and I think I'm very familiar with the Unilever organisation. I'd like to think most people are because they make most of the products that are in our cupboards at home. But yeah, massive global organisation. So a direct level role in that organisation. Where does that sit in the business? You know, how senior is that, and what kind of uh, influence and team size do you have underneath you?
So there is a lot of influence at this level. This is a very high level, and there is only VP above that, and then EVP. So I report to the CFO of the North America business, and then that person reports to the market CFO, and then market CFO reports to global CFO. So not much hierarchy in the US per se. In other markets, there is a little bit of hierarchy, but there is limited hierarchy here. So your line of command and your line or span, I would say, is higher because you are talking to a lot of people and working with them, influencing them at this level. So it becomes broader and broader, and you break those barriers, and it's not so confined by how many people report to you, but how many people are working with you or influenced with you in indirect or direct capacity is how your role spans.
Yeah. So there's a few interesting things that you already mentioned in your introduction. So the first one is the fact that you are a qualified chemical engineer. You know, you've not necessarily come from a background of knowing you wanted to be in tech and doing things to create that path. But also the fact that that chemical engineering degree was undertaken in India and then you moved to the States to start your career. So let's picking up on the change of location first. How did you find that move into a country and being an overseas candidate? You know, were there any specific challenges that you faced as a result of that?
Yeah, good question, Kevin. There were a lot of challenges. Moving country and shifting yourself entirely to a different new place where there is no support system was very tough. First of all, I had no idea what I'm getting into. I just made the decision, came here, and signed up for grad school. So that was just the quick thing which happened. But when you go through the journey and understand what the environment is, then I was in a state of shock. I said, what did I get into? Because this is very different from where I came from. Yes, I knew some of it, but I never thought I'll be in a state of shock. So went through the whole process of knowing, understanding. Yes, I look different. uh, I don't know if I behaved differently. I don't know what I was 20 years ago, but clearly I was different. I could sense it. But there were some people who were like me in the class, so I usually gravitated towards them and see if I could connect. And then gradually, as I started understanding the process, then I started spanning my wings and try to understand a lot more people around me. So earlier on, it was slightly tough in the sense that English is not my first language. Hindi is what I grew up with, but I was in an English medium school, so to speak, or a missionary school in India. So I was very well trained in English, and most Indians are. So it was not hard for people to understand, but I normally speak, or I used to speak very quickly. That is one thing which I changed over time as I came here. I was very rapid in my thought process, because I think that happens with most people. If you are speaking in your second language, you tend to speak faster because you want to make sure you have conveyed your message quickly. Otherwise, you are translating your own language into the English language. And this is the challenge people will have if they are very new into that two space. So they are constantly converting it back and forth. And when you are comfortable, then you start speaking slowly. So this came over time. I was rattling off things, and people would pause me and say, "What did you say? Can you repeat, please? Can you say it again?" And then I would say, "Oh my God, did I say something incorrectly? Was I inaccurate in my statement?" And then I used to go in a spiral mode, in a guilty mode, that, oh, I have to change something in myself. So this over time, there was always a feeling in myself that I have to change something in order to fit in. And at that moment, I thought fit in was the right word, but fit in actually does not even make sense, because you have to flex in. Over time, this is what I learned. You have to flex in and come as you are. But at that moment, I thought, okay, I have to change how I speak. I have to speak slowly. I will probably have to change my accent. I'll have to probably behave differently. I have to probably dress up differently. So it was a lot of things in my head. And of course, over time, I did not change everything. I started speaking slowly for sure, because English became a part of me. And accent, yes, it modified, but not a whole lot. And behaving differently, no, I'm still behaving the same way. I always bring myself, my whole self to work. And as far as dressing structure, yes, initially in the beginning, I changed myself. I used to get my wardrobe was entirely different. I used to behave slightly differently in order to make sure people accept me in the way everyone around was. But then I realized, no, I'm not like that. I'm different, and that is the unique part about me. So I will come as I am. And then my wardrobe was changed again. Now it is who it represents me. So, long answer to your short question, Kevin. But yeah, a lot of challenges for people who come from outside countries. It's not an easy ride unless you have a support system telling you, no, you're okay. It took me years to realize that everything is okay. It's the ghost was in my head only.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's not something I would have ever thought. I probably speak too quickly, and I'm English. Is that you? My initial perception would be that somebody with a second language would probably speak slower, but it seemed like you were conscious of the fact that it's taking you longer to think about the words, therefore you say them quicker, and you've had to adjust to that. That's not something I would have expected. That's really interesting. But it's also good to know that you didn't feel the need to completely change who you were. You've not adapted. You've adapted, but you've not moved away from your true self in terms of who you are in the workplace. And I think that's something that a lot of historical advice, to all different types of people, but women in tech especially, about fitting in. And I think an important message there is you're not there to fit in. You're there to stand out, and it's your unique properties that make you a valuable asset to the company, not the other way around. So that's really interesting. So your career then, from doing your degree, your MBA course that you mentioned there, you then got into finance role, which obviously is still part of your job now. How long you in that finance role for, and then what made you take that step to transition towards more of a tech role?
Yeah, so I started with finance, pure finance, very much in the corporate finance world, month end close, and focusing on strategy. I still do that. And then very much in the sense of managing P&L, sending out reports, working with different people. That still continues. The baseline, I'm glad I did that, because one part of me always wanted to go into the business. And understanding the business always helps a techie, because you can understand both sides of it. So when I came into that first role, I said, my first impression was my engineering mind was working, that I have to improve something, because I saw a few things which could take a improvement break. So I said, okay, I should think about it. But at that point, I was so new and so young in my career that I abstained myself from it. My mind was racing, but I was not ready to make a change because I did not feel comfortable in the environment. I was still adjusting in. As I moved to other organization and started doing it, then I realized there were other people like me who are thinking similarly, that how should we improve the process. And that's where my shift towards technology started happening. It started happening naturally because those thought process started coming in. I found the right set of people who were appreciative of what my thought process was. And then when we started talking, I realized, yeah, this process needs improvement. The leaders bought in, and then we started working towards that. Very small baby step. Whether you improve in Excel, that is a process improvement. Then I started getting into, okay, now I improved the Excel and there are multiple macros going around. What can I do beyond that? Then I started slowly showing my interest in technology, more into business intelligence, data analytics, and data became part of me. Everything and anything which I started touching was very data heavy. I would not go into any presentation without having data as my backup plan. Any strategy I would present, it would have, or it was backed by data, facts, and that became part of me. When I started realizing, oh, data also needs improvement, then let me start understanding. So gradually, I would say, gravitated towards tech as the progression happened, and my natural, internal, and outside. And that way, I started liking RPA. I said, let's see what bots can do. And when this was going in the organization, I moved towards those groups, or I would say capabilities, and asked those leaders, can I be part of this? I really like to make a difference in this, and I really want to integrate multiple systems together. I want to bring bots forward. I want to bring AI forward. And I want to make sure these APIs and everything is all tick and tight together as I'm looking through 15, 20, 30 system. And some leaders encourage that. And then as I started becoming part of that, I would say, quorum, I realized, okay, I see the difference. I see the difference. I see tangible savings. And that's it. That triggered my mind that this is where I want to be. Because when you start seeing tangible savings in front of you, and you're starting to improve the KPIs for the organization, and then you start focusing on people who need the most benefit, then you say, yeah, this is where the process improvement. And that is gradually I shifted myself into transformation. I said, I'm very people focused, I'm very tech focused, and I don't want to lose sight of the finance capabilities I built throughout my time. So I'll keep that as a background, because finance, believe it or not, always needs a lot of help, because finance is always racing towards provide the right numbers, accurate numbers, but underlying, people are working day in, day out to make sure those numbers are right wherever they are reported. So that became part of me, that I have to do something in finance itself where most value will be seen and most value will be felt by the organization. So that's how it all gradually morphed into.
Yeah, so it sounds like a very natural evolution. Was there a tipping point where you realised that you now worked in tech and not purely in finance, or is it just in reflection that you realise that that happened over time?
I would say in the last 5 years, I feel I'm more towards tech now, because I've started liking every new thing happening all around me, and I'm the first one to learn about it and bring it forward, show the art of the possible, and influence others and incorporate in the day to day. So, in the last 5 years, I think the pivoting point has happened, that I have to do something more, because the sea or ocean is huge. There's so much going on in the tech world which can be brought in the large organizations where people are usually not thinking about, because you're very busy in driving towards one set of goals. But when technology becomes your, I would say, savior or assistance, then you start working faster, smarter, and delivering value faster. So that's where technology is helping, and that's what I think I did. And it happened naturally. I started seeing this is more powerful than anything else. So yes, the old, I would say, studying and the MBA school, whatever I studied in, or the corporate world, whatever I studied in finance, is still there with me. I will never lose that. But this is becoming more prominent as I go along, that, yeah, I have to bring it forward because I really want to improve the whole world.
Yeah. So when you were transitioning from finance to a more tech finance role, did you do that by changing company, or did you always do that through picking up responsibilities inside your own organization?
No, inside the organizations. Because I was fortunate to have worked for all large organizations, and there are so many opportunities always, always. And if you raise your hand and talk about it, I can do something different and come out of your comfort zone. Because mostly people are scared to come out of their comfort zone and they're okay doing whatever they're doing. But I was always interested in challenging the status quo. I always wanted to do something different and somewhere where tangible impact is felt. So I started raising my hand multiple times, and when the opportunity was right, I gradually shifted from finance tech to tech finance. So that's where tech sort of became a little bit of a heavyweight than finance. So now I'm at a point where this tech can branch off in multiple different directions because when you start improving processes, you realize it can overlap with other organizations also, and that's what I'm doing. There are multiple other organizations outside finance who see there are overlaps, there are some things which we can do together, and so that's where I'm bringing strategy and synergies right now, because technology is so powerful, you can do anything and everything. I mean, you have to make sure it's a blessing and it does not become something else.
Yeah. Now, we've spoken in the past about imposter syndrome, which you tell me is something that you felt. Now, listening to you today, I can't believe that's true, because everything you're talking about is challenging the status quo, putting yourself forward for things, not waiting to be approached about things and challenging people. So, how have you experienced imposter syndrome?
Yeah, imposter syndrome is real. I still feel it. It always stays with you, depending on what percentage of imposter syndrome stays with anyone. So when I started my career, probably it was 100%, or if I could put a number to it, 110%, because I realized I'm not enough. I realized I have to be like someone else. I realized I have to change myself. That was all imposter syndrome because I was not comfortable in my own skin. As I started moving forward, probably it started going down because I said, okay, now I'm gaining confidence. Probably it became 50%. It never went down entirely because it stays with you. If you are trying to do something new, you always think multiple times, what happens if it fails? What happens if I'm not the right one for this? What happens if I'm not able to do it and everyone thinks, oh, why did I put you in that role? So, this thought always comes in your mind despite wherever you are. Some people don't want to call it imposter syndrome, but it actually stays with everyone. Females feel it a lot, females of color feel it a lot, men also feel it, but they kind of dismiss it. And women tend to internalize it so much that, oh, it's me, wrong, something is wrong with me. And that is what imposter syndrome is. Then when you start feeling guilty about you are doing something wrong, rather than talking about the external factors which are forcing you to do something not in the right direction. I won't call it wrong. There's no right and wrong unless you are sending out numbers, to the corporate world. But that is what imposter syndrome is, so it stays with you. The best thing is if you have people around you to tell you that come out of that mode of imposter syndrome and do something different, and you are okay, you are good enough, and you are in a place because you were meant to be. And if these people are not around you, then you will go in your spiral mode and you will not be able to come out of it. And some people actually go into worse situation where they think so worse about themselves that they take extreme steps. And that is an extreme case of imposter syndrome when no one is around you to guide you that no, what you're doing is right, just give it another chance. So yes, it stays with everyone. Probably it is 0.01% for me, but it is still there.
Yeah, so the way you've dealt with it is by having other people there to pull you out of that situation and to talk to and make you realise. It's kind of it's what a lot of our mentors do for the mentees in our program. Um, what part of have mentors and coaches and sponsors and things played in your career, do you feel?
Yeah, I would say earlier on, I never believed in mentorship and sponsorship. Again, because I was so new, I never realized that I have to build that, I would say, board of advisors around me. I never realized the importance of it. As I started moving, and because I was feeling so aloof and this imposter syndrome just gripping me from top to toe, is that I started realizing I have to talk to someone. I have to start finding the right people. I started approaching different people who I started idolizing over time. And I said, hey, will you be okay chatting with me? Can I run some things by you? I mean, you don't jump into a mentor mentee relationship just like that. You have to first develop some kind of informal relationship. And it takes couple of I would say tries or couple of conversations before a person says, yeah, I'm ready to guide you. So that happened, I would say 10, 12 years ago. I started reaching out to people myself. I said, there is something lacking which I have to fill a gap in. And when I started talking to different people, they started giving me different advice. And then when I started hearing their stories, I realized my story is not different from theirs. It's very different. Even if they were born in this country, they felt some of the hiccups which are very relatable to mine. And then I said, no, I'm not alone. There are many other people. And that's how the group kept on increasing. I'm still in touch with people several years ago who guided me when I needed the most. So having that group or having that board of advisors around you is always very helpful as you go along. And once you are able to do it for the first time, first step is always the hardest, then you are able to ask others without a hitch, hey, will you be okay, chatting with me? Can I run something by you? And then the process becomes natural. So yeah, that is very important. Sponsor is the one who will always put their neck out for you. And for getting a sponsor naturally is you have to do an amazing job in what you're doing. Your boss becomes your sponsor, indirect sponsor, because they are the one who are constantly talk to you about. So that is something. Keep on doing the good work and keep on having a mentor and a sponsor. There is a huge difference. Your boss might not be your mentor, and there are some things which you cannot ask your boss about. So let your boss be your sponsor, and then find multiple mentors who can help you, who can help you through the journey, who can craft a story with you, who can help you develop your own brand, and then you move forward. So sponsors, yes, all my bosses eventually became my sponsors based on the good work which was going on. Mentors, I had to find myself. Some organizations have a formal mentor mentee relationship, some don't. So I mean, initially I was hesitant, but then I started finding a lot of people. And
Yeah.
because I realized many people have it and it's okay to have it, and it is encouraged to have it. So that's where I started doing it, and I have multiple mentors now.
Yeah, you mentioned a few interesting things there around personal brand and the role that a mentor can play in giving you that confidence to push yourself out of imposter syndrome. Um, what do you think are the other skills that somebody making the transition from a non-tech role into a tech role or trying to climb into a more leadership role should be trying to develop and that they could utilize mentoring or other routes to develop those skills?
Yeah, I would suggest first understand what direction you want to go into and why, because that is your something which your mentor also will ask you. Why do you want to make a switch and what will you get out of it? Sometimes it is personal and because you start liking it, but always have an answer of why do you want to do it and what you will get out of it and what others will benefit. Because as you start moving up, that something should become very clear to you. That is it truly going to help me? Is it truly going to impact the people around me? Then yes, then these people will guide you throughout the whole process. Sometimes I would say not all mentors are able to guide you in the direction you want. There are some mentors who will definitely spend a lot of time with you and help you know this is not the right direction. Have you thought about these, and they'll go through the checklist. Some will just give you, I would say, lip service. So watch out for those, because you cannot waste your time and the other person's time if you are transitioning or thinking about transitioning. So it's very important to know which direction you want to go and why, and what will you get out of it. If you want to make a long term career, then be clear with how you want to do it. But yes, to your point, mentors will help you. Sometimes bosses also do, because they know your work. They know what you're doing. And if you raise your hand, hey, I want to move into a different organization because I have these skills and you have seen it. Can you vouch for me? And sometimes these bosses do, sometimes these leaders do, and they say, yeah, I'm fully supportive. I can see you will be a good fit. Then the path becomes easier. So before even you rush to a mentor, your boss is already talking about you. So you're already out there in front where people can say, yep, I see value in that person. Let's bring this person over in the team. So you have to weigh all the options. Don't rush to a mentor and don't exclude your sponsor, but don't also focus on your sponsor and remove the mentors. Both play an important role in your journey.
Yeah, and now the level that you've reached in your career, how do you keep on growing, and what motivates you to keep pushing for the next challenge?
I would say people. I always wanted to do so much for people, but again, as I was climbing my career, I did not realize there was a hidden thing inside me which wanted to help more people behind. But I started moving in my career, I realized more people need the help because that is the journey I'm sure someone else is going through, which I did 20 years ago. There must be someone who came here new to this country and was not able to adjust. What happened? Were they able to make their mark, or they just had to quit because the circumstances did not allow? So there are so many people, and I put myself out there, and your program is amazing. And that way I've reached out to, I mean, so many people have reached out to me that how can you help? So same thing I'm doing with other in my own organization. I speak up, I talk about my own, I put myself out there that these are the not the mistakes, but these are the pitfalls I had. People who are coming on board, young in their careers, should listen and hear and see if you can make some shifts as you move along. So, yeah, people definitely making and doing things for people and helping them as they progress in their career. And definitely, as I mentioned, I'm